Hello, cave dwellers. It's G Day. G is for Gizmo. And as usual, she's got her back to us and she is sleeping on the chair. Classic Gizmo. How are you all doing? Let's get this up here. Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Good to see all the regulars here. We've got the Pillock, we've got Grant, we've got David, we've got Mumbo, who has submitted his game today. We've got Mark Central, he sent a video in. We've got Rob, Alistair, Ralph. Hello everyone. Hello Steve W. LJ45 Chimera. Good to see you all. Now, yesterday was a magical day. I hope Richard didn't give any of you nightmares with his fever dream. I tell you what he did do. I don't know if Richard's in the chat here. I haven't seen him yet. What he did do was he got my video blocked. But it was worth it. It was worth it. Yeah, so whoever owns the copyright to the Elmo song, clap clap, they didn't want to monetize the video, because normally what happens is you use music that you're not allowed to, the owner monetizes it, adverts appear and they get all the money from it, which is fine, it's their music. But on this occasion they chose to completely block it. But I didn't get a copyright strike, so that's, you know, no damage was done. I chose the option to remove the music, which YouTube takes, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to do, and then it mutes that section of the video and then the video is put back up. So you can watch it, but there's, instead of the Elmo music, it's probably even weirder because it's just muted and it's just me laughing silently at Elmo. Yeah. Now, we had some late entries yesterday for the F day, which was a magical day, a day full of flight simulators. Best day of my life. Dana Adams in the chat sent in some Fs. Let's bring that up on the screen just to bring us up to speed. Of course, lots of Final Fantasy. We had a lot of Final Fantasy, but that must be every type of Final Fantasy going. Several pictures of it. We got the Wii, we got the PS2. This is a nice boxed set down here. Got the Switch over here. Oh, we got Blu-ray there. Bit of SNES. Bit of Nintendo DS. All of the Final Fantasies for F. So there you go, thank you for sending them in. There's no F in PlayStation. It is the final word, Dave, on Final Fantasy. There's the horn. Someone was asking for the horn on the holding screen. I think it was the Pillock. And Grant also got a picture in at the last minute. Look, it's Final Fantasy. Let's spin that round. Final Fantasy 7, 9 and 10. No, we're not on F, Costardo. We're just mopping up from yesterday's late entries. I don't like people to miss out. So those are our Fs. And I've also got an F, which I forgot to show you. I've got an E as well. Let's go back to E. My E, let's get a bigger camera, is Enduro Racer. I forgot I'd put some games in the car to bring home. E for Enduro Racer, which I played on my Amstrad, having seen it in the arcades and really liking the sit-on bike. No, it wasn't a sit-on bike, it was a stand-up one, sorry, with the handlebars, and you had to yank the handlebars as you went over the jump to get maximum jumpage. So that's my E. And my F is one of the Magic Knight series Finders Keepers, which I used to play a lot on the Amstrad, never really quite knowing what I was supposed to be doing, but I liked it. £1.99. There you go. That was my F. I've also got a tape measure I need to show you. After Dave's outstanding display of tape measures yesterday, I think he had 4 or 5. Asnivore, I write the rules. Look at this bad boy. It's a unicorn, right? Just a regular unicorn. No. It's a tape measure. How'd you like that for the horn? And then you press its bum. Goes back in. Boom. Yeah, Pillock is stunned. What else is going on before we dive into the G games? Got a ton of G games. Thank you for sending them in. Costardo, who I'm glad is in the chat, has sent us a tour. We're going to the Commodore Cave. We're going to Amiga 3351. Chrissy's got quite a collection to show us for show and tell. And I've got a couple of things which it's not a cheap souvenir from a Spanish resort, sir. The finest tape measure money can buy. A couple of things happened. One I forgot to mention yesterday. Boom! The award arrived. We got the big 100k YouTube award. Not for this channel, obviously. Even though, you know, this channel is quickly becoming the main channel. Over on the other channel we got 100,000, and it was a really nice thing to get in the post. You know, it's a pretty solid thing actually. I'm quite impressed with the build quality. And it will take pride of place in the cave, and I'm very happy with it. You can see my happy face in the reflection. So, there you go. I'll stop self-congratulating myself there. What have I been doing on my day apart of my... I'm saying words that I'm seeing on the screen, Pillock. He said take it apart. Not my day apart, my day off. Well, I've been designing a vinyl record cover for the Hoffman vinyl record that I'm working on. And this is the one that I'm finally happy with. So we can squeeze into the budget. Red vinyl. It's going to be a double vinyl album, whatever you want to call it, LP. Hoffman liked some basic geometric shapes I was working on, so I expanded on that idea. Made this nice geometric cover, and then all of the kind of blurry text that you see on there, because it's quite a low resolution picture, that's tracker data that you see in Pro Tracker, which is all sort of shading it nicely. So I'm quite happy with that, how that came out, and then I've done a slightly different label for the records. The back will be the track listing. The inside, we're going to get some nice pictures of Hoffman and the Amigas in there, and then lots of text on the technical specs of how he's modified his Amiga, what PT1210 software is, and then that should be it. We just need to send it off well, we've got to send the files off for some mastering so it will sound good on vinyl, and then get it pressed. We'll get a test pressing. That'll take about 6 weeks. Well, am I happy with that? We'll do a limited run of, I think, 250. I don't think there's many lyrics to have on the sleeve, Costardo. So it's me, it's Hoffman, and it's another chap who's helping to finance this in such a way that the risk is minimized for me and Hoffman. So it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. For us, it's really nice just to... Because I just want that as a thing. I don't particularly want to profit from it, and I just want other people who want it to have it as a thing. So look out for that. Anyway, let's dive into our videos. We've done the Fs. Let's start with Costardo as he's here. Am I an A&R man now? There's Costardo, fresh out the hospital with his broken leg. Poor chap. Let's knock the music down, and let's see what Costardo's got to show us today.
Hello, this is your friendly neighborhood Costardo with this living room tour. Not a proper man cave tour because, as you may know, my ankle is broken at the moment. So I can't get up the stairs to go to my man cave, which is a real bummer. Okay, let's go. So to the right of the TV we can see the Switch, and if I lean over a little bit you just about can make out the PlayStation 4. And on the left of the TV is a trio of FPGA consoles.
Oh, very nice.
Analog NT-Mini, Mega SG, and Super NT.
I've played on Mark with a C. I don't know if he's in the chat. I've played with Mark's Super NT, and I was really impressed with it. He had it on a huge television, and it scaled everything up really nicely. No tearing, no problems with it. It was really nice to play on.
All of which have 8-bit dual wireless dongles and flash cards. Those three are pretty awesome consoles. The NT-Mini has a custom firmware installed, which allows it to play all D scores. So that's a little bit of an extra. Then in the cupboard we have a home cinema PC. The Wii is hacked. It has an external hard drive with copies of all my games. The receiver and a stack of dust collectors. The PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and the Xbox One. Well, that's about for the electronics. Next, there's some Lego models on the mantle.
Oh, we had this. He's moved. We had the Saturn V rocket there as one of my favourites.
There is a cardboard Sonic with a ukulele. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Very nice. Thank you, Costardo. You play the ukulele, do you? Because you know we're always looking for musical talent for the Daily Diaries. If you want to play us something like Grant did for our intro, please be my guest. So that's Costardo's tour. We got a couple more. We got a show and tell and another tour, but let's smash through these G games because we got lots of them. Badly is fine. Play us a tune. So the first G game comes from Mumbo. Got some text for me to read out. He says, "This is Golden Balls for the Nintendo DS. One of the very few games I actually have access to at the moment. I only own it because it was £1 from a Sue Ryder charity shop. I have no intention of actually playing it. The manual is 20 pages long. There's a little factoid for you, Dave, in the chat. You like to count your manuals. If you include the blank page at the back. If I had access to my other games, I might have picked Game Basic for Sega Saturn. Not actually a game itself though. Gran Turismo 3 or Grand Theft Auto 3. The console is my white Nintendo DSi, bought for £15 from cash converters in mid-January. Works great and even came with the charger. I've also included some photos of my Smurf ruler. Oh, look at that, look. Fully measured there. Crossing the beams. And a photo of it in case you wanted to see it in better detail. There you go. I'm King Smurf, I'm Papa Smurf, that's Lazy Smurf, I'm Jokey Smurf, I'm Brainy Smurf, I'm Smurfette, I'm Greedy Smurf. And that is a 30cm or 12-inch ruler. That would look very nice next to my unicorn tape measure, I'm sure. Have you got enough of the ruler before we move on? I don't want to move on too hastily. He has got the measure of the Smurfs. Rob G, you sent me something for the letter G, and the Google OneDrive link had me blocked. So I did press the button to request access, but I couldn't download it. So if you're in the chat, do please hit that button and I can download it. The next one, we're going to go over to Carl Blitter. Behave, Costardo. Let's see what we've got here.
Good evening, Neil, and good evening, Cave Dwellers.
Good evening.
Can't offer you a cave tour as such, since I'm with family at the moment and in between homes. But
Are you
I thought
under
I
the
would
bed?
talk to you about
Where are we?
one of
We
my
in the
favourite
cupboard?
games from when I was a child, and also one of the things that I miss today.
Ah, we're back
Anyone
on the
remember
flight
this?
sims.
Gunship 2000. I had this on the Amiga as a child and used to play it endlessly. But one of the things that I miss most about games like this from this era was, of course, the manuals.
Of course.
What was great about Gunship in particular was I got almost as much fun and enjoyment out of the manual as I did out of the game itself. For instance, in Gunship in particular, that is the game instructions. The rest of the manual, which is just over half, is literally an in-depth history of the helicopter, the US Army, which is the scene of the game, and how the simulation works and all of the data sheets. And as a child, I probably read this more than what I did play the actual game.
You know, the Air Force really did miss a trick. The number of school children in the 90s who must have been able to identify enemy tanks, planes and helicopters by their silhouettes alone, having read all of these flight sim manuals, they were out there. They needed to tap into that knowledge.
And we just don't see this these days. I don't know about you, but I miss this quite a bit. I wonder if there's quite a few games that probably you guys have also played over the years that are similar to this, where almost the stuff that you got with it was as good or better sometimes than the game itself. Another favourite of mine that also has this is, of course, TFX, which again...
Hang on, this is not a G game.
Huge appendix.
He's cheating.
Section at the back, which covers all of the aircraft inside the game, including the Eurofighter, which didn't actually exist at the time. And on top of that, anybody who's into that sort of thing,
I am.
a whole section on how the actual simulator itself worked and the way that they made the game work. So yeah, just a quick thing. There's just a couple of the few things I have left over from my childhood. I can also think of another one which would have been IndyCar 500, which also had a big section on how automotive racing works and cars and stuff at the back. But yeah.
Had all that info on how and why you should set up the camber of the wheels, and how to set up your car for, depending on if it was an oval where you always turned left or always turned right, or the occasional track that actually had left and right corners in the IndyCar circuit.
There you go, just a quick one, but I thought that would be something that some of you might remember or be interested in. Until then, stay safe and speak to you all soon.
Thank you very much. And of course, TFX had that amazing Barry Leitch soundtrack, which if you had the CD-ROM version, there was a MIDI music on the disc version, but on the CD-ROM it sounded awesome. So thank you, Carl. Oh god, the next one. It's Richard. Is it going to get us blocked again? Is it going to give us nightmares? Are we ready? Are we ready for Richard? Hang on, I need to open another drink before we do this. Is Richard in the chat? Yes, there he is. He's just appeared. So tonight's beer, we are actually on the non-alcoholic beers. We're still on the Brewdog, but alcohol-free. Just to mix it up a little bit. Time to take some hallucinogenics. You don't need them with Richard's videos. But I will have my finger hovering ready to hit that mute button if we need to. Okay, here we go. Oh, I can already see it's a good choice of game. A game that doesn't get enough mentions in my opinion, because it was a really good game on the Amiga, whether you like the arcade version or not. Anyway, let's see what Richard has to say. I can already see the Sesame Street logo. We could be in trouble. Okay.
Good thing we have a big budget. Just a small town G.
Richard, you're gonna get me blocked.
G-train going, going, go.
I'm sorry, I've got to turn it down. Because it will get muted by YouTube anyway. I don't know how much we can get away with. Got some Gunship 2000 in action there. Grand Theft Auto. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, hello. Oh, no. Clap, clap. You know how this one goes. Send it over, was. I'll grab it from the email.
What's the letter?
Oh, there's a Scotch egg there for Gizmo.
Good thing we have a big budget.
What goes on in Richard's head? So Richard has said in the chat he's clearly made another video for H, and he's made sure that that one is copyright free, so we can have the full Richard hallucinogenic experience from tomorrow onwards. Thank you, Richard, for all the effort that you go to. I'm so sorry. Gizmo doesn't apologise for anything. Thank you, Richards. Some good choices, and we saw Gunship in action there after it was suggested by the previous person, by Carl. No, it doesn't work like that, Damo, unfortunately. YouTube does have this option, though. If it detects copywritten music now, there's this beta option whereby you can remove the music but not your voice, but it says it will take a very long time to process, and I don't know how long that is, and I don't know how effective it would actually be. Richard is a genius. Right, we're going to Mark's house next. Mark with a C. Mark, you've dyed your hair since I last saw you. Mark's gone blonde. I wonder if he has more fun now. You may recognise Mark's room. We did a retro road trip to his house on the channel. Let's see what he's got to show us.
Hello Cave Dwellers, and welcome back to my cave. I hope you're all well. I missed a few of the COVID diaries, and unfortunately I missed the letter E.
Oh, he said the C word. Don't say the C word.
Which is a game I would have loved to have spoken about, but I will settle for the letter G instead. So my game of choice is on one of my favourite handheld consoles of all time, which is the Game Boy Advance. I'm never really that far away from it. If I go travelling or anything, or go on a train, or I'll normally have it with me, and I'll be playing various games on it. And the game I'm going to choose today is a game I started playing on a plane journey. And it was a long one, it's about a 12-13 hour plane journey. And I started when we took off, and I didn't put it down until we landed. And I was hooked instantly.
He's keeping us in suspense.
And that particular game...
What is it, Mark?
Golden Sun and Golden Sun The Lost Age.
Is this a JRPG?
So these two games, they're pretty much a standard JRPG affair. I'd say it does suffer somewhat from a slightly confusing storyline, but it does make up for it in fantastic graphics, gameplay, and the battle scenes are phenomenal. They've got this kind of weird kind of 2D effect that goes into 3D, and it's great. You've got to see it. Anyway, I won't give any spoilers away, but one of the really, really cool features of this is once you've completed the first one, you can transfer your character over to the second one.
Nice.
And you can continue your storyline with this one, with the characters that you started in this one. I think on average I clocked in about 25 hours on each of the titles.
A long plane journey.
So if JRPGs are your thing, I'd highly recommend checking this out. And yeah, that's it. So thanks, stay safe, and back to you, Neil, in the studio.
Oh, how's that for a segue? Over to you in the studio, Neil. Thank you, Mark. I've paused it so we can have a little look at his collection. I know we've done a retro road trip there. Dave's spotted the GX4000 there in the chat. Lots of nice boxed systems. I know the Commodore 64 not that one, but there's one unboxed down here, was Mark's first system. And there's some great games, including Virtua Racing on the Mega Drive there, with that extra and expensive chip in it, so it actually could push the 3D polygons around. Echo, we had that as a game of the day yesterday. No, the day before even. Streets of Rage there, of course. Streets of Rage 4 I think is released today, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of chatter about Streets of Rage 4 going on. I was offered a chat with the development team of Streets of Rage 4, which I'd like to have done, but I didn't think it really fit with the main channel. Just because the developers, they didn't develop the original game, so they didn't have a lot for me to dive into and say, so, well, as far as I know, they didn't have a lot of retro history to talk about. But then I saw, I think we got Ravi in the chat, they've got them secured for a chat tomorrow, or maybe they did it last week. So I'll just listen to that. That's easier than that's easier than recording with them. So I look forward to that over on the Retro Hour. But yeah, for my channel, I just didn't feel that it was right for the tea breaks. But yeah. Go Nax, Gods, and WWF Royal Rumble, which I know is Mean Machine Dean's favourite game. I did see him in the chat earlier, I don't know if he's there. Streets of Rage chat is tomorrow on the Retro Hour with Ravi. Do you know anything about their history, Ravi? Are any of them old school developers, or is it all about the new game? Mark Central sent in a picture. These are his G games. The Goonies 2 on the NES, or the NES, and Gradius. Over 1 million sold in Japan. Popular shooter. I've got a NES that I do need to fix up at some point. It's just, it's not that high on my priority list. For no other reason than I've just got lots of other rare micros that I want to get to first. Now, next up we've got a video from our good friend Ian Pixels at Dawn. So let's knock the music down and let's see what he's got for us. Okay, so Ravi says the Streets of Rage 4 guys have got roots in the French scene.
Hello, Cave Dwellers.
Hello, Ian.
Pixels of Dawn here again. And it's the letter of the day is G. Now, I wasn't originally going to do a video for G, but I was somewhat inspired watching Pillock's video yesterday, and also in no small part by Dave's video as well. Because today I want to show you Grand Prix again.
I'm on mute. That looks like a different box. There's something special about this.
So this is something that Pillock put on yesterday. This is my copy from the Wild, Weird and Wicked pack.
It says
as
down
it says
there.
at the bottom. Not to be sold separately. And I'm not going to go over what Grand Prix is again, because Pillock covered that admirably, but what I did want to go through is, as covered by Dave, one of my favourite manuals is the Grand Prix manual. You'll see in here many discs, the backup discs the original owner of this made as well. Got to have those. Technical supplement, which even I noticed has a list of the teams and drivers for 1991, so you can manually rename everyone so it matches the release date of the game, which I thought was quite cool. But yes, the manual. Now, let's move all this out of the way. Discs. Is fantastic. I love the manual for this. It is.
Get ready.
168 pages long, and it's all English manual. It goes through all the details of what you need to know, how to play it, getting a quick start, how to control the car, all the things you'd normally expect from a manual. But then it goes over and above and starts giving you things like detailed maps of all the circuits.
I studied these when I used to play the game, and these were an important part of the game. You really did learn the circuits inside out. And you could, even though the graphics were so simple, you could then sit down and watch Formula One on the BBC with Murray Walker commentating, and you could recognise from, say, where the grandstand was and the very few visual cues that you had from the game, you could recognise where the cars were on the circuit, and it made the sport all the more enjoyable for me, at least.
So you can see what you're doing and where you're going. All the bigger F1 circuits that are in the game. Monaco, of course, everyone knows Monaco. The tunnel, Monaco Tunnel. But one of the great things in here, so I can find it, is, I guess, some details about the actual teams and all that kind of stuff as well. What the flags do. But I love, there's a whole section on driving techniques. So this was where I learned how to click the apex, what racing lines were, how to go through S-bends and all those sorts of things, which is completely over and above, really.
Came in handy when you went go-karting though, didn't it?
For these sorts of things, got all these nice little diagrams. This is how you go through a long straight after two identical corners. Cornering in wet weather. I think we could all learn a bit about that now it's started raining again in the UK. Not that we can drive anywhere. How cars understeer and all those sorts of things. It's just a fantastic manual. It's and it's a big one as well. So you don't have to be a flight simulator to have a great manual. And while we're here, hey, I don't know whether you've heard about these two games. Gauntlet and Gauntlet 2. On the Spectrum. Lovely artwork on the front cover. Got your nice Merlin, Thor, Thyra and Questor. And they're really, I mean, they're great versions on the Spectrum. Especially Gauntlet 2, which I spent many, many hours playing with my mom, of all people. We'd spend the whole day in the summer holidays just fighting our way through various dungeons. Come on, zoom in. You could do it.
Focus.
I don't think it's going to do it.
Focus.
No, there we go. That's sort of the Spectrum version there. In fact, it says underneath. But it's a fantastic game, and they're both very good. And they also start with G. So there you go. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Pixels, and of course the Amigos covered that, or had that as their challenge and review game recently on the ZX Spectrum. I was really impressed with the Spectrum version, so Ian will have been playing that a lot lately. The only thing about Gauntlet, as much as I love it, I've even built a mini arcade cabinet around it because it was the 4-player cabinet, so it scaled down nicely and still gave you room for your joysticks. But the only thing about it is it was clearly designed to take your money. And this came up on the Amigos, a couple of people said this. It's a great game, but yeah, it's designed to just keep pumping money into an arcade. So that sort of affects the gameplay somewhat. Not a lot you can do about it. It's the foundation of the game. It's from the roots up. It's a quarter gobbler. Anyway, I actually got to use my soundboard for the right game. So thank you for that. Tim is next. Let's see what Tim's got for us. He's got a different mug every day. Tim does love his mugs. So let's have a look.
Hello, it's Tim here.
Hello, Tim.
And here we are for the letter G. Yeah, not quite the production values of yesterday's nightmarish F. But, yeah, so letter G. Let me move this mug out of the way. For me, it's a game which is just both a classic and has some kind of great memory attached to it for me. When the N64 came out, I bought it in part for myself and also for my 2 young children who were young at the time. They're now 27 and 29. But anyway, and the cartridge format was perfect because for their little hands and clumsy, kind of quite violent approach, the N64 was really a perfect console when everyone else was going to CDs, which were much more delicate and really wouldn't have worked for them. So thank you, Nintendo, for sticking with cartridges.
I think that's a good point. It was that transition period where the PlayStation made CDs cool and all the consoles were switching to CDs. But actually, how much of those CDs were music? Like Ridge Racer on the PlayStation. I think the game itself was only about 2.5 meg. So you could squeeze these games still into the cartridges if you were willing to sacrifice the music, and of course it made them all the more resilient.
I'm not keen on the Pierce Brosnan Bond, but this is actually a film game which is really great, and I have fantastic memories of playing 3-player against 2 small kids and letting them gang up on me, and I usually played Odd Job, which was a larger character they could take better pot shots at, and it was fun for them to get the golden gun and shoot their poor dad. Anyway, this is actually the original game I bought at the time, and I'm pleased to say I also rescued the boxes from my offspring and put them away, so they're in pretty good nick too. Anyway, I hope you appreciate this, G, and I will catch you maybe for the H's.
I appreciate that, and I am your G. Good memories. So somebody, I think it was Neil in the chat there, just said he's never played GoldenEye. And the problem is, if you've not played GoldenEye and you try and go back and play it now, the genre has been improved upon so much that it's hard to appreciate it for what it was at the time, which was an incredible game. I played it through. I had an N64 at the time for this and for Mario 64, and I think it's the only time that my dad has got hooked on a video game, because it was a console. I actually had it in the lounge, and for a period of about 3 months, things got a bit messier around the house, because it was just my dad and me and my sister, because when we went off and did whatever we did in the day, he was just playing GoldenEye all day, every day. He completed it, I think, on every difficulty level, which is not bad going for someone who never plays video games. That's how into it he got. And of course, for me, with my mates, 4-player split-screen GoldenEye was just fantastic. But if you try and go back and appreciate it for what it was now, it doesn't really work. Not in the way that games like 2D games like Robotron are still completely playable and you can really appreciate them for the twitch reflexes you need and whatnot. Nah, GoldenEye feels a bit sluggish. Yeah, Mark, the damn scenes at the beginning were mind-blowing. Rob, have you done something to grant me access to the video? If so, I'll dip into the email again and try and download it. So yeah, GoldenEye, I had all those things like it would detect where you shot the enemy and they would react accordingly, which we didn't really get on the PC until games like Soldier of Fortune. But then, of course, everything else caught up and overtook it, and that was it. It made its mark in the FPS genre, but it does deserve its place in history. Those are our G games. I'm just going to check the email for Rob, because he did send me a game, but I didn't have access to it. Let's have a look. Yeah, the AI wasn't bad. At the start of the game, you recreated that scene in the film where you crawl through the duct above the toilets and shoot someone in the head who sat on the toilet. Always satisfying. Okay, I've got your game, which I'm just downloading. Oh, I don't even need to download it. I think I can play it direct. Let's see how big it is. No, it's not too big. We'll get that downloaded.
get you there.
And Rob, have we got Rob's email? Yes! I've got your email, Rob. And I have access. Bear with me, everyone. I'm just downloading these couple of videos. So if the stream gets a bit choppy, that's why. And while they're downloading, let's go to a show and tell, shall we? See what Chrissy's got for us today. Remind me to come back to those downloads if I forget for some reason. They're going to take a few minutes. Right, it's Chrissy's turn. Let's bring up the audio. Choppy like a sea of meat. That's right, Dave.
Hi, Chrissy here.
Hi, Chrissy.
And today I'm going to do a show and tell on a certain collection of games that I've got. I'm just going to switch on my chair. There you go, Street Fighter 2.
Now I know this isn't a G, but it's a show and tell, and it's an impressive collection. Look at it.
Oh, its glory.
This man likes Street Fighter 2. That's a nice idea, Grant. What? Hang on. Gary has replaced Kimmy.
So I've come down off the chair now, so I get a better view.
I've come down off the chair.
So there we go. You can see I've just got the SNES console boxes.
There's got to be lots of them.
The joystick. Actually advertised on the side of the box as well. And we have all the other various.
I'm sure he'll tell us what they are, but I do want to just take a look at these boxes because this black box I've never seen before. Now for the PC. I had it on the Amiga. It was awful on the Amiga.
8-bit and 16-bit versions of the systems that it came out
budget
of.
releases.
Now, I've not got everything yet. Some things are really expensive, such as the Sega Saturn PAL version of Street Fighter. Really expensive to get. So here we are. Here's the IBM version on disc. It's the Atari ST version. It's the Amiga version.
Terrible.
This is the Kicks budget version. We have the Amiga Super Street Fighter 2 version.
Never tried that one.
The 486 PC version of Super Street Fighter as well. Here we have a 3DO version.
That's a good version.
That Quang, Asobi Tech, put me in contact with a guy who was selling this, and it's still sealed in its box for the 3DO. You can see there, official controller offer inside, which I'll come to later. This is Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo for the PC.
That wasn't bad. I did have that. I think I picked it up in Macro. For anyone who shops at Macro or used to. Yeah, it was okay, but it was so many years after I'd seen it on my friend's Super Nintendo, and it was on a £1,000 PC and not a console, that it didn't feel as impressive, but it was still a fun game.
CD-ROM. We have got the Kicks budget version releases for the PC, the Amiga, and the Atari, and obviously the C64 on disc as well. Which, let's have a look inside. We have, yep, there we go. CDM 64. And now we have the Japanese release versions of Super Street Fighter 2, that's for the FM Towns. That's the X68000.
Very different art. They've focused on different characters for some reason than the usual Ryu and Ken.
And that's for the X68000 as well. I just want to show the X68000 versions of this because I just like the floppy disks that you get with it. And here's the adapter for connecting up the Sega Mega Drive joypad. So
Oh yes, so that's you.
All the 6 buttons.
Yeah, so you can use the 6 buttons. I have had the pleasure of playing this on a X68000, and it's arcade perfect. It's amazing.
I just like the discs that come with these versions. You thought the Amiga was bad for floppy disks? Well, Super Street Fighter 2. I'll put one up there. Has quite a few. Again, they look really nice though. Can't spread them out.
Wow.
And we have a few various other releases as well, which I weren't really collecting those sort of ones, but
There's Street Fighter the movie there. the game of the movie of the game.
they were cheap, so I just got them ones as well. Then coming down here, we have the Japanese SNES release versions of Street Fighter 2, and Super Street Fighter, and then the oddly version that was released as well in Japan, which is it's okay. It's a little bit slow because it has to decompress as it goes through each levels. Then we have the CBM 64 or Commodore 64 cassette version. So just reading off the label, and the Spectrum 128K on cassette as well. Limited edition, I think it was, in the tin box, a little
Very
bit
nice.
beaten up. And then we have the PlayStation Hyper Street Fighter 2 version as well, which has all sorts of neat little goodies standard. So obviously the game. There's a mouse mat, a little keychainy thing.
Because you need a mouse mat to play Super Street Fighter 2. Or Hyper, whatever version it is.
From Chun-Li,
It's not a life-size Chun-Li doll, Pellic.
I think. Yeah. Something else, which is the movie. Part of another pickup I did of the same game as the one that's in that box. This one came with a bag as well. Little bag that came with the game. And we have versions for the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy, and the Japanese Game Boy. Also the
So much Street
English,
Fighter.
well, US and so forth. Street Fighter 2's there. And another copy of the FM10.
Oh, there's Keith. Hello,
PC
Keith.
Engine.
Sugary!
PlayStation's another copy for the 3DO. And we have the Mega Drive versions, all different ones. And here's some the controllers that you saw on that 3DO.
Okay. So the D-pad's tilted. What an odd controller.
So one that is actually for the Mega Drive. Sorry, that's the 3DO one. That's the Mega Drive one, and that's the Super Nintendo one. You can see the Street Fighter in the background. And I just picked this up because this was cheap as well. And then we have this weird sort of clone LCD game.
Super
Tiger
Fighter.
LCD game, and then
That looks awful.
the NES or NES version of Street Fighter 20.
Look at the artwork on this box. Realistic arcade action.
T10 Joe, so picked up cheap. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where this come from, but he looks familiar. And you can see the game sort of playing. One-handed. Sorry.
Just like the arcade.
Anyway, that is my at the moment entire Street Fighter 2 collection.
Bye! Is that the end? I think that's the end. That's the end. Thank you, Chrissy. An enviable collection. It's always nice to be able to focus down on just one thing and say, I'm going to collect everything to do with that. Probably gets frustrating at times if you're, trying to pin down a particular game that you can't get hold of, but yeah, really nice. And Chrissy, if there's anything in particular that you're looking out for to complete that collection, then let it be known. There must be so much Street Fighter stuff, Street Fighter 2 stuff. There must be so much out there. We've got one more tour, but let's just jump back to those downloads. They have downloaded. So we've got Rob's video and Waz's video. Let's have a look at Rob's game. I can see a golden eye and I can see a gauntlet. See what Rob's got to say. Evening. Oh, I haven't got a sound for that. I need one. £10. That's an 8 meter or 26-inch tape measure there. Nice unit. Oh, no sound. Sorry, chaps. Let's go from the beginning. You know it happens.
Evening, Cave Dwellers.
Once per stream.
Well, as you can see, I've picked out some games beginning with G, but I'm not going to talk about these. I'm going to talk about one in particular that I used to play 35 years ago on my friend's Commodore 64.
Warrior, beam moon, bad.
Ghostbusters by David Crane. Now, a few years later,
I do need the
this
trombone
on my Commodore 64, but by that time, they'd stopped selling it in this box. So I had to make do with the Ricochet release, the budget label. And a few years ago on eBay, I bought this just because I wanted the box. It's a nicer box. It looks nicer on the shelf. It's a bit tatty.
Sorry, Craig.
For a 36-year-old game. So yeah, it's a bit repetitive. The game, driving around New York City, you know, catching ghosts, making money. The music loops continuously, but it's okay for a quick blast every now and again. So that's those. And then it also came out on the Atari 2600. And as you can see, it's got Ghostbusters on all sides except the bottom. It just says Busters for some reason. Don't know why they just didn't colour that black and just
Weird.
Leave the barcode there. So yeah, the game is exactly the same. Obviously, the graphics aren't as good, but it's just, it's the same. The gameplay is the same.
Thank you, Jeremy,
So
for the
that's
sub.
And then they released it on the Mega Drive, but this was a completely different version. It also came out on the Master System. I've not got that one. The Master System version was the same as, the David Crane one. This is a platform shooter with like caricatures of the main cast. I've not got the box for this one. I just picked up the cartridge, a couple of quid. And then I can't leave without mentioning Ghostbusters 2. This was done by the Oliver Twins, believe it or not. I only found out this a few weeks ago. I've known about this game for like 30 years, and I had no idea it was done by the Oliver Twins.
Yeah, the Oliver Twins, I mean, you just associate them with Dizzy mainly, don't you? And so I'm just opening a can here. And some of the simulation games and things like that. Ghostbusters 2 was quite a stylized game, but not in the style of an Oliver Twins game. But it was good. It was just really a series of mini games, wasn't it?
So this is not my original Ghostbusters 2. I got this off eBay. I got rid of mine years ago. This has got the badge. It's got an off-white balloon, and then all the other bits and pieces. So yeah, the game is completely different to the first Ghostbusters. It's 3 levels long. So you've got the mine shaft there, where you've got to lower Ray down to the River of Slime, and then you've got the Statue of Liberty side-scrolling shooter, a bit like Silkworm, and then there's the museum level, which I had no idea how to do it back in the day, and I still don't know. So that's that. Yes, that's Ghostbusters 2. So that's my choice for today's letter. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Evening, Cave.
Now, as some in chat have said, it's nearly 8 p.m. here, which means it's time to go out and clap for our National Health Service. So I'm just going to put the stream on hold for a few minutes and then we'll carry on shortly. So take a chance to recharge your drinks and I'll see you all in just a moment. Oh, hello. Sorry about that. Did our clap, and then of course you see the neighbours who you haven't seen for a week, and you get chatting. Sadly, our neighbours just been to a funeral today of victims of the big C word, which we can't say on the stream at the moment because it seems to affect YouTube. Rather sensibly, they took their camper van so that they could be self-contained the whole journey. They had their own sink, their own toilet, everything. They could just go to the funeral, didn't even have to use anything at service stations. Anyway, how are we all doing? Thank you everyone for sticking around. We've just got a couple more things to see. So let's dive straight in while I get my breath back. Jeez, from walking up the stairs. Terrible. This is from Woz.
Hello, Cave Dwellers. Today
He sent in his G game.
I'm going to be looking at Green Beret. For my game, that begins with the letter G.
I wonder if he'll show us Russian Attack for the R game.
One here's for the Spectrum 48K, but was available on the Commodore 64, Amstrad and MXX, I believe. Published by Imagine, but it was originally developed by Konami. And this was an arcade conversion, and also went on to be called, I think, Rush and Attack in the US when it was released on the NES. Comes in the bigger box release. Let's just double check that. Yep, definitely larger than your standard specky case. And what do you get inside this double cassette case? Well, you just get the standard single cassette, of course. Got a few screenshots inside. And although this does look quite basic, even for the Spectrum, the in-game graphics are actually quite good. Just maybe not as well represented as it should be here. But what really set this game apart was that it was absolutely hard as nails. You've got your army bloke on the front cover here, and although he's got that massive weapon, for the majority of the game you're just equipped with a dagger. And although you do get a flamethrower and a rocket power grenade, for the most part I never came across this machine gun at all, so I'm not even sure if it's actually...
Russell, you're walking into Wootton Bassett from the middle of the sticks, could hear horns clapping and a couple of fireworks. You could probably hear me clapping then, because I'm just round the corner.
In the game. Now, I first got it as part of this compilation. So when I first got my Spectrum, I got a number of compilations, and my favourite by far was this Konami coin-up hits. And along with Mickey and ER Kung Fu, Green Beret just really stood out. And what's different with this release? So up to this point, I remember seeing these clam cases.
I do love those cases.
With the single cassettes. So it's a bit unusual that they went with the double cassette case and inlay option. But, you know, it looks fantastic on the shelf, and I like having both variants here.
Let's just rewind, can we? There we go. Yeah, thank you for that. Was great choice of game. It is hard as nails. Good evening, Taz. Good to see you here. It's one of those ones that I had to resort to watching a long play on YouTube to actually see someone play through the game. Really hard as nails. But look at these. These are all classic titles and classic covers. Ya Kung Fu, Green Beret, Mikey, which had the Hard Day's Night Beatles music running throughout it. Completely unlicensed. I actually quite enjoyed that game. On Hyper Sports. I've got my breath back. And to round us off today, we have... So thank you for those late entries, by the way. We've got a cave tour. I think this is the last thing. We had Amiga 3351, didn't we? Did we play that one? I'm pretty sure we did. Let's just check. We haven't seen this one, have we? No, so we've got 2 cave tours to get through. This is a fairly quick one. It's from Amiga 3351, who is in the chat. Hello, sir. Let's see what he's got for us.
Hey, cave dwellers. Just a quick tour of my garage stroke man cave. Slowly getting things together, and it's all a bit of a mishmash at the minute, but let's get...
We've got some more Ghostbusters.
in there slowly. This top shelf with a couple of my...
There's a little game hiding away in there called Moonshine Racers, which was actually a really good little Amiga game. I first played it on a Amiga format cover disc. I think I then had the final thing pirated. I didn't buy it. I don't think I've ever seen a big box version for it. But it was a really playable. It was like Crazy Cars, but well, you were doing moonshine runs. I liked it.
Old electronic games. Game Boy. Atari ST that I've still got to get an AV cable for it. My bread bin, steering wheel that I've that I've made that I'm going to start making.
Yeah, the music is a little bit loud. He was just saying that he's made this steering wheel, which is impressive.
Racing cockpit soon. It's my A500. Just box standard at the minute, but
that is pearly white, very nice. Oh, I remember this mouse. I had this Logic 3 mouse, and it looks like an external disk drive over there.
I'm going to try and get an accelerator for that. Again, just mishmash of joysticks, games. This is my little...
So we got some indie up there. We got Test Drive, Operation Thunderbolt, P47. Can't make that one out. Not sure what that game is. I thought you might have Days of Thunder being a sim racer.
Sinclair Corner, which I think I've posted a few pictures on in the chat room. This is ZX81 that I picked up from a guy in the UK. It actually came from a repair shop went back for repair, is not working in, what's that say? 9th of the 10th, 82, but it's fully working now, and I think it's got a composite mod on it as well. That's my ZX Spectrum Plus. Take this down. I've got in there. It's a box.
Oh, the interface and micro drive.
Interface 1. That's my
We're going to pan to the
first
left.
Spectrum I had from school. So that's got that in 1984.
There we go. The rare games. Oh, sorry, the ultimate games. Jetpack, Lunar Jetman, Attic Attack, Alienate. I do like these boxes, but the labels, the original labels, the glue tends to dry out and they fall off and they get lost, which is a shame.
Still got to get a few titles for 128, 64C, couple of disc drives.
Is that a bit of Tiesto playing in the background? We're going to a rave now. Seems oddly appropriate.
That's my old Mac I've got. That's my arcade cabinet that I built. That's
very nice.
Yeah, so it's slowly coming on. I just thought I'd give you a quick tour. Okay, catch you later, guys. Bye.
I do like Hyperspin as an arcade front end. We got Sonic over there on a really nice display. Although there is a caption down there, so I don't know if that's a front end just playing it. But yeah, really nice cave / garage / whatever you want to call it. Everything's set up and ready to be played. Very nice. Thank you, Amiga 3351. I'm assuming your name is Nick because there was a little poster sat next to, or a little plaque sat next to one of the machines that had the meaning of the name Nick. And finally, I think you're going to like this one. We're going down under to the Commodore Cave, a YouTube channel that I only discovered recently. We'll get a link at the end of it.
Hi, I'm Graham and
hi Graham.
Welcome to the Commodore Cave. Today I'm going to give you a very quick tour of the cave. I hope you enjoy it. This is my workstation. Here's where I have the computers I'm actually using at the moment. On the left side here, that's obviously my Windows computer, which is great for emulation and also producing my YouTube videos. The very elegant, beautiful looking 8032 SK.
Lovely. That's the one with the detachable keyboard, although it doesn't look much like it. And the rounder edges. It's very nice. So I think that's the one some people call... let's just go back so it's not so blurred. Is that the one some people call the Porsche Pet? Because for a while it was believed it was designed by Porsche, but it never was.
SK. Alongside that we have its brother. That's the 4016. This one's actually a 4032. It's had the memory upgrade. And it's sitting on top of the 8050 dual floppy disk drive, which is a full-blown computer in itself. Moving along, we've got our Commodore 64, of course. There she is down there. That one's a rainbow. On top of that, we've got the Amiga 4000, and sitting on top of that, we have the Amiga 1200. That's coming.
Now, I can't let him skip past all these switching boxes because I like to see how people have this set up. So we've got a switching box to switch the mouse. So this is like his KVM. We've got the mouse for the 1200, 2000, 3000, 2000. That's what it looks like. So you can flick the mouse around. Parnet. Auxiliary. 1084S monitor. 1701 LCD. Okay, so you've got different monitor switching boxes. VGA monitor switch. Amiga joystick switch. Commodore joystick switch. So it's a bit like when we went to Pints and Amigas tour the other day. They had all those switching boxes set up.
It's coming out on our LCD monitor, and I can switch between these quite easily with all my different flip switches here. Took a while to set up, but definitely worth it. Behind that, I've got space for a lot of the extra peripherals.
Look at that. I think this Zoom one was that was an actual Commodore, or was it Amiga branded? Or if it wasn't, there was a very similar peripheral to that. This is the Logic 3 floaty steering wheel that I had as a kid, and if you didn't buy it with the foot pedals, you had to tilt it forward to accelerate. So it made F1 GP, which I used to play with this, very much like driving a bus when you were driving flat out. Looks like we've got a light pen there. Conix Navigator, I did like that because it was hard to break. A couple of Commodore light guns, and look at this. It's the kind of light gun you used to get with the old Pong style machines. Some tank mice. A golden joystick. There's a Speed King there. And the old Quickshot turbos. Nice. Yes, you can get a link to
the Amiga 1000.
I'll do that
and
shortly.
alongside that, we have the unusual sidecar. Don't see many of those. That's basically an XT computer. Sitting on top, we have the 1701 colour monitor. I've tried to get as many with the original boxes as I possibly can. They're damn hard to come by. Many of these computers actually do have the boxes with them and are still sitting in it. There's the notorious game system. Big mistake. And the 500.
We got a hard drive on there, an A590 I guess.
The 600p. And that's the 600 Amiga. Some drives, joysticks, printers. There's our CDTV.
Lovely.
There's a little drive alongside that as well. Beneath that we have three unusual 64s. The bottom one is a Dream. Next one up is the Commodore 64G from Germany. And the top one's another German one, the LD. Next to that we have the 64C. This one is a bread bin, but it's in the Australian aftermarket case.
Just think I caught a glimpse of a Commodore Max down there, I think.
And this is a very early silver label. Modem and some floppy drives. Over here we have the Amiga 3000 sitting on top of an Amiga 2000. Beneath that we have a few watches.
You've even got the Commodore watches on an SX64. Wow.
The 64SX, first portable colour computer. A VIC-20 plus 4 TED and the 116, hard to find those. One of the very early ones, the Commodore Max machine. And the Commodore 16. Next shelf down, we've got some printers. Fairly common ones, but still interesting. All of them still running, of course. A couple of rainbows in there. A 128D with its drive. That's an interesting one. That's the Chessmate, and that came with its box as well. And a couple more silver labels and some star printers. Library. Where I keep the discs, books, manuals.
Oh, look, we've got Birds of Prey there. This is a man of taste. Got some flight sims. Not sure about the Rolf Harris cassette.
The discs, books, manuals, anything else that needs to go along with the associated hardware. And then tucked away in the corner, a slightly newer model.
Oh, look at that. Stand back and look at that. That's a display, isn't it? Someone said this is a museum in the making. It was Neil. It truly is, isn't it? That's lovely.
And that is a very quick walkthrough of the Commodore Cave. Well, that's it from me. I hope you found it interesting. If you'd like to know any more about any of these computers, check out my channel on YouTube, Commodore Cave.
Thank you, Graham. So that's the end of Graham's video, and that's a really nice one to end on. Let me get you a link to his channel. As I say, I've only just found his channel. I'm only just getting to know his videos myself. So, but just from that, I think we can tell it's probably a very good channel and well worth looking into. Very nicely spoken, Graham. Easy to listen to. Oh, Bing wants me to watch it on Bing Video. No, thank you. YouTube, please. Now, is this the right link? Yeah, this is it. Okay. Sorry, it threw me because the channel's just called Graham. If someone can check that out, just check that is his current channel. I think that's the right one. Something was released a week ago. 810 subscribers and all of that stuff to show off. So take a moment, guys, to click on that link. Give it a sub. Leave him a message, maybe, because I don't think he's in the chat, to say, hey, I came here from RMC. Share the love. Hopefully we can learn lots from Graham and his collection. Affirmative, yeah, that's the right channel. Okay. Oh, come on, he's got to get to 1,000 easily. Go and smash that sub button. He's got loads of videos, actually. He does have a video on the... let me just bring this across. He does have a video on that steering wheel. And he's got the pedals to go with it, something I never had. The Amiga Aviator joystick. Does a tour of his cave, an extended tour of his cave. That was 4 years ago, so he's been putting videos up for quite some time. A UFO cordless controller. Got calculators. Oh, he has got a video on the chess device that he showed. Solving a retro bright fail. That sounds interesting. And he has got the light gun, the rifle even. There you go, that looks like a channel that's worth exploring. Well done everyone for going to sub. I'm sure that will be a nice thing for him to wake up to. I don't know what time it is over there, but I'm sure he'll be happy to see that. So that's everything we've got to look at today, I believe. Yes, we have done everything. Tomorrow then, it is, what comes after G? H. So, for tomorrow, have we got any H games lined up? Let's have a look here. We've got one from Pixels at Dawn. Might have a few more in the email. So, I need your H games. Please send in an email to retromancave@gmail.com. Let us know what your favourite game beginning with the letter H is. If you have a cave tour, send it in. If you have a show and tell that's completely, it can be any letter. It doesn't have to be to do with anything. And you want to show it off, please do, and we'll watch it together. Somebody's asked for a Hadouken. Hadouken! There you go. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I'm going to go and put my feet up for the evening. We'll do this again tomorrow. And then on Saturday it's quiz night. And then that's the end of my holiday. I'm back in the cave on Monday. I'm back at video making. So thank you STW, thank you Neil, thank you Keith, thank you Mumbo, thank you Laura, Woz, Richard, Dana, Neil, Mark Central, Richard the hallucinogenic Shears, Grant, the Rushton, we had Mark and we had Costardo, we had Dave, we had the Pillock. Thank you everyone. Take care. It's goodbye from me, it's goodbye from Gizmo who hasn't moved, still on the chair. And I invite you all to wave. Bye-bye. It's waving.